Battle of Ohio on Halloween. Plus, we'll talk to Jamar Chase injury coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast.
Yes, sir. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
How do you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time, man. Yeah. Shock the world.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. I'm your host, Ace Boogie. He is my co-host, Zim. Zim, say what's up.
Hello, world. Here we are. Back. Standing 10 toes tall. Wincinnati pod. Back at it again.
For sure.
We're fresh out the winter circle, Ace. I don't know how you're feeling. We've been delivered some news this evening. We also have a really, really big game coming up. I'm feeling terrific still. I'm still feeling like the man I was yesterday, and I'm here to deliver.
Well, we do have a special guest today, so you guys stay tuned. We got my man Thom Brennaman coming on today, joining the show. We're going to talk about several different things. Obviously, the Jamar Chase injury is on everyone's mind right now. We're going to give you guys our thoughts on it. We're going to get Tom's thoughts on it. We're going to get Zim's thoughts on it. So definitely be sure to stay tuned for that. And then we're also going to talk about Burrow's play since week 1. He's been on a crazy streak. We're going to talk about how he went from Joey regression to Joe Shiesty. All right, we are going to welcome in our guest, Mr. Brennaman. How are you doing tonight?
How are we doing, my man? Ace Boogie. It's nice to finally meet you, man. My son's told me all about you. It's nice to meet you, Zim. We're hanging out a couple days a week. You know, you're running with that Skybox crowd. Is Ace Boogie a Skybox man, or is he like down in the fans with the regular people?
I kind of twiddle between both. I might be with the fans and I might be in the Skybox some games, but yeah, sometimes I might be with the fans though. Yeah, it's not a problem to do that.
Yeah, although your homeboy here, I don't think he likes mingling with the commoners anymore. Now that he's been enough in that Skybox.
No, he does not. He is a Skybox guy for sure. For sure.
Do not listen to this guy. Every single day he tries to get me on there, and he tries to make me be like some snobbish little English print, like some Prince of a City or something like that. I'm just a common guy, Tom.
I don't know.
You know I'm outside.
I don't know them. When I first met you,
Tom, I'm outside.
I only sit at the 50-yard line. That's what you told me.
I gotta get a good view with the advancements of TV and all these different angles. And have y'all seen Prime Video games and stuff? It's no point in going to the game if I'm gonna be up at the ceiling of a game. I gotta get down low.
Ace, who gave you that nickname? Because that might be the best nickname, the coolest nickname.
Yes, sir.
I'm not kidding you. I think that's like the coolest nickname I've ever heard.
It's actually based on one of my favorite movies, Paid in Full. One of the guys' nicknames in the movie is Ace Boogie. So that's where I actually got it from.
Okay.
Because when I started my YouTube channel, it was a play on like New Stripe City, but it was play on New Jack City, which is another one of my favorite movies. So Ace Boogie is where that kind of came from, and it just kind of stuck, and that's what it went with, because my original name is hard to pronounce, so people messed it up and butcher it all the time. So I went with Ace Boogie.
Where do you live, Ace, if you don't mind me asking? Are you in Cincinnati?
Currently, I'm actually in Florida. Originally, I am from Cincinnati, though. Born and raised, went to Wyoming High School.
Oh, wow.
Graduated there, played with the Cowboys. And then I came down to Florida for college and just got used to the weather and ended up staying. But I love going back to Cincinnati all the time. I'm always in the city.
Well, next time you come back, you let me know. We'll get together.
For sure.
We gotta get us all together like in a round table and really get into this. Because remember, Tom, we gotta get. I'm trying to get plugged in. You told me one time on the show. You said the Bengals need more voices that are really, really more in line with the message, and we got to get that going. We got to move the culture a little bit further.
You got it going on. You guys both got it going on. Everybody who follows the Bengals knows who you two guys are. I mean, we kid around a lot and have a lot of fun, but I mean, just the reaction we get, Zim, when you come on our show. Dude, that whole thing when you broke down about teams being scared of the Bengals and how they should be scared of the Bengals and the whole thing the other day, I think we had like I think he had like 4,500 hits on that thing alone on Twitter.
We could do some numbers. We could do some numbers. Speaking of hits, there was a hit that happened to one of our best players on our team.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase. I think the initial hit happened in the touchdown in the Saints game about a week and a half ago or so, whatever. Unfortunate injury. The initial reports say out 4 to 6 weeks with a hip flexor. You got any thoughts on that initially? What are your first? What are you thinking?
You know what, Zim? I mean, you hope and pray, obviously, for the kid because he's such a special talent, and I mean, he has just electrified this league since the second he stepped into the league. I mean, everybody forgets that cat sat out a year. You know what I mean? Everybody forgets the dude sat out a year. Then he comes back and plays, right? This guy, I mean, to me, he's the best receiver in the NFL. I don't think there's any doubt about it for me. But that being around sports like you guys, there are a couple of areas of the body that I get really, really worried about when I hear about a guy getting injured. And hip is one of them. Because all of us know, whether it's our parents, whether it's our grandparents, whoever, but a lot of us also know some pretty young dudes who all of a sudden they get some issues with their hip. Now, they're not Jamar Chase, that kind of athlete, but I just hope and pray the guy is going to be okay because I'm old enough to remember, and I know Bengal fans will throw something at their computer screens or TVs right now, but I'm old enough to remember.
Don't you say that guy's name.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. I mean, if you remember when he got hurt in that game, in the playoff game against the Bengals, right? We're talking about the same cat, right? 34? Okay.
Greatest Tecmo Bowl player of all time.
Well, when he got hurt in that game, I'm old enough to remember. They thought he would be back and play the next week because the Raiders beat the Bengals in that playoff game. And they thought he was coming back the next week. Well, he didn't come back, and you're thinking, okay, they end up getting beat. Well, all of a sudden, training camp comes around the next year, and he can't play in training camp. And then all of a sudden the season starts and he can't play in the season. And, you just hope and pray. And I know I'm exaggerating a little bit here, maybe just even making that comparison. And I hate doing it because I pray with all my heart and soul that there's the Jamar in 4 weeks from now is great. And he's back and ready and ready to roll.
I think that one big difference, and me and Ryan were talking about this before we went on too, is that he, that guy that you're talking about, he never played again, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Jamar kind of played a full football game and a half after that.
That's a great point, Tim.
And went for like 130 something yards in that first game. Then he comes back the next game and then puts on the performance that he had last week. I pray it's nothing like that, but I do know that he played, a lot more.
Another example would also be Tua, right? Like Tua hurt his hip in college right before he was getting ready to get drafted. So I'm just hoping I'm with you though, Tom. Like hopefully it is a situation where we've had some advancements that it's not going to be kind of a career-changing injury. And I think, like Zim said, for him to play on that is insane, bro. To play with that injury and have 2 touchdowns the next game just kind of speaks to who he is. But yeah, we definitely want to make sure that Jamar is okay. But without him, what do you guys think this offense looks like? Because I still think, even though Jamar is one of a kind, he is who he is, I still feel like this offense can be good. What do you guys think is kind of the ceiling for this offense without Jamar Chase? Are they going to face double teams, or are they going to return back to kind of that inconsistent offense?
Well, I'll just answer the first part, and Jim dives into a lot more than this than I do. But I think all of us agree that the third best wide receiver on the Bengals team, okay, and most people say, okay, that's Tyler Boyd. On any given day, it could be any of them, right? Could be Higgins or Boyd. That he would probably be, if not a number one, certainly a number two on just about any other team in the NFL, right? Okay, so now you've basically got Higgins 1, Boyd 2. Somebody's got to step in there and be number 3. And this is going to be somebody's time to shine, whether it's for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 weeks. Somebody's got to step in there but I still think the quarterback's good enough. The running backs are both more than good enough. The offensive line is playing a lot better. I think they're going to be fine. Are they going to be as good as they are with Chase? Of course not. What do you think, Zim? What do you think they're going to do to him on defense?
I think, early on, the game plan is a little bit different. You're probably not taking some of the chances that you would have because the explosive plays of Jamar Chase just aren't right in your back pocket. I think you probably play a little bit more conservative, and I think Bengals fans might not like that in that game. But I think for the most part, you look at what could hurt you. Is Nick Chubb on a big home run or maybe a turnover or some sort like that? Like, I don't think people are fearful that Amari Cooper is going to break the game wide open or something like that. So you kind of go more into the field position type of thing. If you have a fourth down opportunity that's in front of you on their side of the field, 100% sure, go ahead and take it. But I think the game plan changes a little bit. T. Higgins, I just want to see, Jamar Chase takes so much attention that, I think the staff and even the fans, we get so comfortable with seeing T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and sometimes like in these spots where they're wide open, like you saw last week. Will the coaching staff be able to adapt like immediately on the fly? Because early on, it may look a little bit, a little rough because you got to build, as we learned through the first 7 weeks of the season, you got to build that cohesion. You got to figure out different things that work, some things that don't. So that's the more interesting thing. I think even if they don't look like amazing on Monday night, I'm very confident they'll get enough information off of Monday night to carry them into Sunday against the Panthers. Like, I'm not looking ahead, but I just think that they'll get a lot of information from that game and say, okay, these are the things that we know now that we could go to, and I think you got to kind of find that out. Then you go into the bye, then you come out of the bye. You still got to play, the Titans after that. So it's a lot, man. But I think the explosive plays are going to be missing, and nobody can get past that. But Joe Burrow's one gift when he was given to us from the football gods themselves is he will always find the open man.
Yeah, I think with Joe Burrow, that's the thing that's lost on a lot of people that just kind of got hip to the Bengals, right? A lot of them just started watching the Bengals last year, saw Jamar Chase and all of that, but they didn't really watch his rookie season, right? You got to remember there were points where they were scoring 30 with that offense when he only had Auden Tate, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. So I still think he's going to be able to do that, and he's going to prove to the league that, he is still a good quarterback without Jamar Chase in the lineup. But let me get you guys' thoughts on Burrow ever since week one, because this dude has been on a tear since week one, and he's the guy that makes it work. Zim, what are your thoughts on what Burrow has done after week one to now?
I thought that Burrow's just on a roll where he's just locked in. He feels really good, and I think the offense has re-identified itself as like, hey, look, we're watching the Bills, we're watching the Chiefs go primarily under shotgun. We're going to run the football out of shotgun, and we're going to play to my strengths. And I think they're just they're working to his strengths and processing what he sees. Since week one, 16 touchdowns, 1 interception, passing rating of like 123 or something insane. He's at the top of the league in completion percentage. He's at the top of the league in yards per attempt. He's at the top of the league also still being the most sacked. I mean, the second most sacked at 24 sacks. So we definitely need to make sure that the offensive line does what it has to do. But I think Burrow is locked in, and he's gotten real comfortable with the offensive line. And that's the part that I was told when we got, when Jamar Chase was drafted, the argument was always just get Joe Burrow time. Monday, I think Myles Garrett and Clowney are, a legit force. I think for the first time, though, we'll see what Joe Burrow looks like just getting time and not being able to lean on one of the most explosive players in football. What do you think, Tom?
Well, I mean, look, Burrow's a phenomenal player, but he does look like a very different guy than he did the first 2 weeks when he's running for his life. I mean, you talked about 24 sacks. 13 of those were in the first 2 games. 13. So, I had a gripe with Zach Taylor of not playing this offensive line together at all during the preseason. just based upon the fact that in all the years that I've been around football and covered football and did the NFL on Fox, I've heard it once, I've heard it 10,000 times that the most important position group on the field that has to know what each other can do, what the other guy's good at, what he's not so good at, communication, is offensive line. And, I just don't understand how those guys did not play at all together. Now, I know, Collins was nicked up, had a bad back. I get it. That's a different ballgame. But anyway, it took them 3 weeks to get their sea legs, 2 weeks anyway. And now that Burrow doesn't look like it, to me, if he got gun shy, and of course he would never say that, but if he did, you couldn't blame him. I mean, you're getting a snot knocked out of you, man, by 320-pound men or 270-pound men that run like a deer. And after a while, that would get old. But now the line is really settled in nicely. They're only averaging a little more than a sack per game over the last 5 weeks. And so Burrow's back to being Burrow. And at the end of the day, if I had to have Burrow, Josh Allen, or Mahomes, I'd still take Burrow ahead of the other two guys. I don't know if you guys agree with that. You agree with that, Ace?
Yeah, I definitely would take Burrow. I think, pick your poison at that point. But for me, I'm taking Joe Burrow. I think the future is bright for this kid. I mean, even talking about the Browns, right? He's 0-3 against the Browns. But when this guy came in, his second game in the league on primetime football, this kid threw for 61 times? That is insane for him to come into a game and do that. Speaking of the Browns, I think that he's finally going to get this Browns thing off of his back. I think this is going to be the game. When you heard him in the offseason kind of make comments, he kind of mentioned, hey, I haven't beat the Browns yet. That sounded eerily similar to me when he talked about the Ravens the year before the 2021 season and the Steelers. He wanted to get that revenge against them. I think he knows not only being 0-3 against the Browns, possibly being 0-3 in the division, that's going to cause him to, I think, come out in this one and try to step his game up and get this W. How do you feel about this one, Tom, with Joe Burrow being 0-3 against the Browns? Is that going to bear on this game? Why has that happened?
I don't think, Ace Boogie, that's going to bear on the game because Burrow's too good. I mean, he's just too good to be 0-4, 0-5, 0-6 against the Browns. That ain't going to happen. The thing that worries me about this game, two things. Three now. One, Chase is out. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Clowney and Garrett are legitimate pass rushers. And if you really look at the Bengals since those first two games when they gave up 13 sacks, you had Cameron Hayward. Watt got hurt in the game, but he was all over the field. And the Highsmith kid had a monster game in that game. Week 2, you got Parsons and Lawrence running all over the place, sacking Burrow left and right. They've not faced a player, forget two of them, since week 2, like they're going to see in Garrett and Clowney. And then the last thing that worries me is, you guys know, I made the comment before last week, and I stand by it. I said before last week, if the Browns lost to the Ravens and they lost to the Bengals, their season's over. They're done. They go to 2-6, they're done. And whenever you play a desperate team, now they may not be a super talented team, and they got a lot of guys hurt, but when you face a desperate team at home, that's got to worry you a little bit, right?
Yeah. Right.
It seems like anytime we play them, they're always in a desperate situation, right? The OBJ game last year, after OBJ leaves and all of that, they need this. Every time we play them, it's always
like a game. It's the Browns, though. What do you expect? They've been desperation.
Are you saying they're always going to be desperate?
They are.
Desperate. I mean, their whole all season was foreshadowed by desperation. Tom, one thing, hold on, real quick, off subject. Tom gets on me a lot about Zim isn't. That's a nice setup you got over there, Tom. Nice. Well, that's a nice looking pad.
I've lived in the same house, Zim, since we
beautiful.
Moved back. Thank you. Since we moved back to Cincinnati back in 2007. When we left, we lived in Arizona the prior 14 years, and this guy was a home builder that built this home. And he was one of those guys, he'd build a house and then flip it. You know what I mean? Then he'd build another house down the street and flip it. So it's a great place. We're very lucky to be here, and our kids have gone to great school. Same conference you played in, Ace Boogie. Our kids go to Marymount.
Oh,
so
CHL,
Wyoming, and everything, and CHL, and it's a great league and a fun league, and so we've been
Cowboys still running it up. I see.
Well, they got that CJ Hester. I mean, it's hard to believe they might lose. I'll be stunned if somebody beats that team in the state playoffs. I mean, you never know when you run into some team from up in Cleveland or whatever it might be, but your Cowboys got it going on.
Yes, sir.
Somebody in the comments, as soon as you say, like you're living in Cincy, I saw my guy Diddy. He's a real good, loyal listener of the show. He was like, Tom is 100% a Cincy icon. So I want you to know, we recognize your brilliance, and I make a lot of jokes with you, or whatever. But I mean, I do appreciate everything that you've done so far.
Definitely
for the city.
For sure.
I gotta get Ace Boogie and you on at the same time.
Oh, be around. Hey, you call me an outdoorsy man.
About anything? Do you guys ever go at it?
Hell yeah!
Oh yeah, we go at it. Oh, the very first thing that we had.
You guys go at it.
You gotta watch. He doesn't know about the Civil War, Zim? You didn't tell him about the Civil War?
That wasn't by the time it got on air though, it wasn't really like an argument. It was like, all right, let's get better. But the whole week, all right, so before Jamar Chase was drafted, this is a great moment in YouTube history, I guess. Before Jamar Chase was drafted, I was very adamant about drafting Jamar Chase. Ace was very adamant about drafting not even just Penei Sewell, just an abundance of offensive linemen.
Right.
Like let's load it up. And and it was in the fan base was 100% divided. We then asked for personalities like Elise Jesse, TJ Houshmandzadeh. We had a big Civil War, and we kind of picked who's on this side and who's on this side, James Rapine and all these other guys, and we put them up against each other, and we had two versions. We had a round one and a round two. It was really big, and I thought like we got some real good discussions. We had PFF doing crunching numbers. We did a bunch of cool stuff, and out of it, Team Chase won. But ultimately, I think that was one that me and him privately, we did not see eye to eye on. Yeah. And like true brothers, we definitely argue on some points, but then we'll come back. I might throw out like when I see you that text the other day, and I was like, John Wall, look, I was showing you John Wall's number. I was like, John Wall should play for the Lakers. So like we and him will like kind of poke the bear a little bit, but it's all in good fun because like when you got that real love, you just kind of keep it pushing.
How did you guys meet each other?
Bengals.
It was on the internet, but it was crazy because I was doing YouTube and I heard about Zim doing Instagram, and I think I actually found his first podcast, and I was like, all right, this dude is cool. And like a lot of people would come and comment and say, you should go check out Zim. And so Zim used to have this thing where he went live. What was it? The players circle or the players club?
Players only meetings.
Players only meetings.
But it would just be all Bengals fans. Like, I'm weird like that. Tom.
It was on there, and I went and jumped on. And as soon as me and him were on at the same time, like the crowd just lost it. And after that, we were like, man, we should do this again. And then we ended up deciding, like, man, you know what? Let's start a podcast. Let's check it out. And it was crazy because I think me and him, we just thought that we were just going to start it. And the next thing we knew, it was like people were already offering us like deals and stuff to work together with that. And so it was just a natural thing. We talked about Andy Dalton, I think, that night. So it just was a natural connection. And like you said, it's just been a lot of love since then.
I think I converted you off of Dalton, didn't I?
No. Me and you were on the same boat.
All right, we were on the same boat. So you know how I'm really energetic now, Tom. I was energetic too, but I really did not see like the future with Andy Dalton with the team.
I was with you all the way.
So one of the things is like that was our first Civil War. It was just like a big divide. So early on me and Ace took a lot of heat too.
Oh yeah.
We were on the tank for Burrow.
Yeah,
and that was a big moment for us too. But anyway, we got together on it, and then we did a pod. Cincy Jungle, we picked this up, and then we started doing that. Then we created our own now with Wincinnati that you're on tonight. So I'm really, really glad you came on here because
I told you, anytime you want me on, I'm grateful that you're coming on our show all the time. We love having you. You're a huge part of the show. And now that I've had a chance to meet Ace Boogie, we're gonna have you guys on together, if that's all right.
Tom had to check you out first. He had to make sure you were legit.
So
My wife
Whenever
asks
you
that
talk
same
to-
question every night.
Whenever you talk to a Browns fan this week, all they're going to say is Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb. How can the Bengals stop this Nick Chubb attack and this rushing attack that the Browns are going to have for us on Monday night?
You know what's funny, Ace, is we had a guy on because ever since we started asking Zim to come on, we decided on the show we wanted to start finding guys like you guys out there that cover different teams, right? And there are a lot of guys out there that do it, cover the Browns, every team in the NFL. And we had the great dude there from Baltimore, Ingravens, is that his name?
Ingravens.
I met him through Ace.
Yeah, awesome guy.
Good dude.
He's amazing.
Anyways,
I love
this
that
guy
guy.
from Cleveland comes on, right? And today, and he said something I found so interesting, and maybe you guys already know this, but you know, it seems like all you hear are Browns fans screaming and yelling that they don't run the ball enough, right? This guy made the point today that Chubb, if he keeps getting the number of touches per game that he's getting right now, he's going to have over 300 and something touches before the year is over. And there have only been 2 backs in the NFL in the last like 20 years. The great player from Pittsburgh, Le'Veon Bell, he was catching a bunch of balls and running. And I'm trying to remember who the other one. So there you see it right there. First in yards, first in out yards after contact, first in rushing touchdowns, first in explosive runs. I mean, I was surprised just hearing people talk about it and scream and yell that they're not running it a lot. But then you look at these numbers, the guy's running the ball a lot.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons for that is because sometimes, like a lot of people, and I think me and you, Tom, we probably are on the same page about this. There's some criticisms about Zach Taylor with situational football, right?
Yeah.
Situational awareness. With the Browns, I think where some of that comes from is I think in the Patriots game, they only gave it to Nick Chubb 12 times. Even though it was like a 10-point or 11-point game, it was one of those situations. Even on a 3rd and short, they chose to let Jacoby Brissett throw it instead of running it. In games where he doesn't get 20-plus carries for them, they're like 0-5 or something like that in those games. And so sometimes I don't think it's that they don't run it enough, but sometimes he doesn't give the ball to Nick Chubb at the right moments in the game. And so I think that could be what's at play. Zim, what do you think about that? The run game for Cleveland.
And don't forget,
I think
Kareem
there's
Hunt too now. Kareem Hunt's a player.
for sure.
Yeah,
I think there's been a bunch of times where I think Stefanski is taking the ball out of Chubb's hands and is a feel for it. So sometimes when I hear Browns fans say, man, they didn't give Chubb the ball enough, I think it's I look at Zach sometimes late in games. I'm just like, man, you got to feel like you can't call a shovel pass right there. You got to run the ball. It's like those unique situations where you're just like, man, you should have ran the football there. I don't buy into it that much. And then you got to think this too. I think the Bengals fans in general are really higher up on a Tyler Boyd than the average fan, than the average in the NFL enthusiast, right?
Say that again.
Think that,
say that again. What'd you say?
That Bengals fans are higher up or have or think more highly of Tyler Boyd than a casual NFL enthusiast, right? I think
we've seen him play a long time on some shitty teams and on some good teams.
But we hold him
player, man. He's a player.
And we all collectively say, man, Tyler Boyd, like, don't sleep, whatever. If you take Tyler Boyd to somebody else, it probably doesn't hold as much weight. I think that Nick Chubb is kind of like in the same mode for Browns fans. It's like he's not a sexy.
He's like the Tim Duncan of running backs.
He's not a sexy pick. So they go out of their way to say, like, like Nick Chubb is the number 1 running back in all of football. And we're always like, we know he's good, bro. Like, relax. Like, he's good. They do the same thing with Myles Garrett. Like, relax, he's really good. Trey Hendrickson's really good too. Joe Mixon's really good too, but it's one of those things where, like, they really hold him up and they have way more weight in Nick Chubb stock and Myles Garrett stock than anybody on earth. So they go out of their way to say, this is the guy. And I'm like, I get it, bro. Like, he's really, really good. So I think they're just over.
Those are 2 guys that they are never going to bend on, Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb. But Tom, we want to thank you.
Wait, before you tell me to beat it.
No, I was gonna let the people know where they can find your show and everything, so that they can tune in and catch all the great content that you guys have.
Thank you. We're just
Off
like
the
you
bench.
are on YouTube and /Chatterbox Sports. That's all one word. CHATTER Box Sports, and we're there every day, 10 in the morning until noon. And Zim's on a couple of days a week, and now we're going to have you on with him if you got the time to fit it in your schedule. And
hop on, Ace.
we'll be
If you want the easy,
Ace has got to come on.
Oh,
Tom is giving y'all the forward slash and all that stuff. Just Google off the bench Thom Brennaman. It'll pop right up, guys.
Okay, there you go. All right, now do you guys? Because I don't want to blow your cover here, because I know you got a little bit more show left. But
Ryan's
do you
going
guys
to
make predictions at the end of the show? Is that what you do?
I make a prediction. Zim does not do predictions. Ever since I've known him, he does not do predictions.
Well, you scared, Zim?
I feel like I have a lot of energy, and if I say a number, it might just happen, but it might happen on the opposite side of the fence. I think the Bengals are going to win the game.
Okay.
I think the Bengals win this one. I think if they were to have Jamar Chase, I think I honestly could have gotten ugly, especially when you talk about Denzel Ward being out with them clicking like that. I still think the Bengals get this win. I think one of the keys to this game is going to be Joe Mixon. That Browns defense, we're talking about us worrying about their run game. That defense has definitely got to be worried about our run game, as they let the Chargers, who were 32nd at that time, run all over them for 200-plus yards. I think the Bengals go out there and get a win. I think that they play inspired, and they just go out and make a statement. So I'm going to say 30-24 Bengals.
Wow, you're saying they're putting up 30 without Chase.
I think that they put up a 30 burger without Chase. I mean, the first time he played the Browns without Jamar Chase, he put up 30. I think that they're going to put up 30 in this game for sure.
Okay. I think the Bengals win the game, but I think it's going to be tight. I think it might come down to especially without Chase now. I think it might, although, the one guy I wouldn't even talk about is Hurst. I think Hurst is a nice player. I think he's a nice addition to this team, and we might even see him now more and more without Chase around, depending on how defenses are going to play the Bengals. I would like to see the Bengals run it better, though. I mean, I really hope they can. Yeah. You just pointed that out, Ace. The Chargers ran all over them, and hopefully the Bengals. But I think this is tight. I think this is a field goal game down near the end. So I think that spread's 3.5. It gets any bigger than that. I think this game's played within a field goal.
No, I can respect that. Money McPherson game.
We got the better. I like my kicker a lot better than theirs right now too. So that bodes
so do their fans.
Hey, real quick, I gotta ask you a question real quick. Who do you dislike more, Ravens, Steelers, or Browns?
Steelers. I think Steelers. Yeah,
just sure.
Although I will say this, and all the years that I announced in the league, I don't know if I could have more respect for any person in football, whether it's a player, a coach, whatever, than I have for Mike Tomlin. I just think that this guy, he does things the right way. I think his teams play on the edge a little bit. I think and it's been well documented, some of the hits through the years against the Bengal players. I think some of them have been right up on that line of dirty. And we saw a couple of them in the first game earlier this year. But I just think Tomlin is he's a stand-up guy. He's a good man. He's great in the community. He's a great football coach. I despise the Steelers, but I do like Tomlin.
Okay.
I don't hate the Browns. You guys hate the Browns?
No.
I hate the Browns fans. I don't hate the Browns. Their fans in recent years have gotten a little crazy. They have some revisionist history going on with some of the recent stuff. So it's fine though. But Tom,
you gotta feel bad for him though, Ace.
I used to feel bad.
I don't feel bad for him.
Not anymore. No. Not after the Baker owns you stuff.
Don't feel bad.
I'm good on them.
Come on Twitter with us one day. You won't feel bad for him at all. They'll come on there. The first thing that comes out of their mouth, when the Bengals going to beat the Browns? I know Joe Burrow has seen it, so let's get it on. Tom, thank you so much, bro. Nice. We're going to hang out next week. I'm going to come on the show. We got to link up sometime when I come back.
You guys ever want me to come back, you just let me know. I'll be here.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. See you, Ace Boogie. Take care, man.
Yes, sir. You too, man.
See you, Zia.
All right.
Cincinnati legend there, man. Cincinnati royalty coming through. Zim, talk to them about our friends from Pierce Dental Group in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Sorry about that. I had the mute button. I just wanted to say Pierce Dental Group is an amazing company that we've been working with over the last couple months, and they've done fine work for a lot of Bengals players that you guys like, a lot of people in the Cincinnati area. Please make sure you check them out. They got a brand new office that they built downtown in Fountain Square. Make sure you take care of your smile. You need a dentist, join Pierce Dental Group in Cincinnati, where confidence starts here.
All right, man. Speaking of confidence, how confident are you about these Bengals, bro, against the Browns?
I think I do want to say this though. I am not as confident, of course, because you're talking about the most explosive wide receiver probably in football right now, right? Being out. There's an argument for a couple of other guys. I'm well aware of that. I will say this though. Let's just go back to, I know a lot of people want to talk about the injury. So Chase is now, there are some reports that say it's like a fracture. It could be like a bone chip. It could be anything. The initial reports is that he feels good about the injury, but the x-rays or whatever they saw just don't look as good or as promising. That being said, I think the whole conversation about Joe Burrow not needing Jamar Chase or not needing all these weapons, Joe Burrow just needs to get blocked for and all these different things. This is the game, like early on, maybe this isn't the game, but this is a very important game for a person that believes in Joe Burrow like the way that I think I do. My argument is always that Joe Burrow will find a way to win a game. I just thought that Jamar Chase and company go and give them this extra oomph that take them over the top all the way to a Super Bowl. I think that his best attribute is finding guys open. And if it's Mike Thomas, if it's Tyler Boyd, if it's T. Higgins, if it's Joe Mixon, if it's P. Ryan, if it's Hayden Hurst, then it's going to be one of them. And that doesn't stop.
Do they need to pick somebody else up? Do they need to go out there?
Yeah, that's the part, and that's the part that I think that people were mixing up when we were on Twitter earlier. I was saying that me, you, a lot of other people have been saying all this time, we always needed an insurance policy. What did we say? In case somebody goes down, somebody has gone down, and that was the conversation all along. It didn't take a Chase injury for me to say that. Now, if the Chase injury is a lot bigger than what we think, I think this is the one time it's a unique part in Bengals history where you're sitting there and you're saying, our window of opportunity isn't that crazy. It isn't that big. Say the Chase injury is a little bit longer than what we think. Say you really have a Super Bowl aspiration and you got to play Joe Burrow in the all season, T. Higgins, Logan Wilson, these things in the all season. You 100% should make a play for a guy that maybe demands more money. Maybe that's a Terrace Marshall at a later date. You know what I'm saying? Because he's still got like 2 years left on his deal or something like that. Maybe it's somebody in that mode. If it weren't for the Chase injury, I'd be saying like a guy, like a Will Fuller level talent, like just a guy to go out there.
John Ross?
1 year rental. Bring in a John Ross to camp.
It could happen in this situation.
John Ross, Auden Tate, those are two guys that I think that I don't know how bad the bridges are burned, but I just think that you wouldn't be. They got to bring somebody, and they got to have somebody because you couldn't just rely on. Oh yeah, we're bringing Kwame Lassiter up. That's not enough if you have Super Bowl aspirations. Now the next couple games are going to tell the front office a lot. If the Bengals, like, the deadline comes up when?
I'm not sure when the trade deadline is. If you guys know,
Ryan, let me know when is the trade deadline. I think isn't it on Tuesday?
I know it's approaching. It's fast approaching. Looks like it is Tuesday.
So yeah, if the trade deadline is Tuesday, I think you might learn a lot from the game that's on Monday. But I just think even still, you got to get those conversations going right now. You need to have that conversation with Elijah Moore, like right now, and find out.
See, so the one thing I was just gonna say this, not combating what you just said, but I don't think Elijah Moore is possible because for the short term, right? Like, yeah, it works, but his whole reason for wanting to leave New York, right? Not enough targets, not involved as much. Like when Jamar Chase comes back, how many targets are left? Unless you're saying goodbye to one of the Migos, then maybe that's possible. But I think right now, I just think where Elijah Moore is at, it could work now. The long-term game, though, is just going to be a guy that's like, hey, I'm requesting a trade. And to me, that's the other thing too, right? The Migos, what they're also known for outside of being dominant players is the unselfishness, right? The selflessness that works. Can somebody like Elijah Moore buy into a game where he might only get 2 targets? I don't think so. And I don't want that in my locker room. I believe in him as a talent. He's on my fantasy team, or he was on my fantasy team, and still they stopped targeting him. But I don't know if I'm in on Elijah Moore, bro.
Well, just taking it back just a quick second. Talk to me about where were you when you heard about the Jamar Chase injury and then what were you thinking initially and what are you thinking about it now? Like, what does it do?
Like all of us, I was on Twitter. I don't want to say it like it's a bad thing, like it's because we just talked about like where were we at when what happened to Chris Henry happened. So I don't think it's like that, but I was on Twitter just scrolling. I saw it. I think I screenshotted it, sent it to you, but I think you had already known about something about it. And I was just like, whoa. But to be honest, when I saw him in the last game, when he like sat down for a little minute,
shit.
And then like you talked about it too, you were like how Zach threw the screen to him because I thought that was a questionable thing to do after he was just sitting down. They throw him like that screen, and then you see him not really run like full speed. It was like he was moving, but he kind of stayed behind.
Did you see the mic'd up Joe Burrow
and Joe Burrow joint where Joe kept
and Joe was like, why are you running? Why are you just jog like that? And then you could tell if y'all go play it, like the mic is muted. Like whatever Jamar Chase says back, go back and listen to it. Whatever he says in response, they mute it and they go to the next. They cut. You know how they edit it up real quick. And the people that I know around the situation, that, I didn't hear anything about it. Now, there have been things that I had seen on Reddit, like some people probably in the comments. I've seen all types of information that was coming to me like on Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday when I woke up, it was getting like heavier. But, I don't know if it's just me being a homer. I just was like, I don't know about that. Until Adam Schefter reports it, and then that Schefter ball came through, and I was like, ugh. And somebody even still,
it was in my Discord, and they found out.
The crazy thing too, though, he still hasn't been given. It just says that he's slated for injured reserve. Like we're recording this on Thursday, 10/27.
That means they're gonna have to make a move, right? So like that them having to put him on IR means a roster spot opens up. We hope,
but you see what I'm saying? Like they haven't even said it. That's my point. Is that he hasn't been designated to the IR yet.
Yeah, because I think usually they'll probably do that. I think like after
like
the game, probably like on Monday or something like that.
Nah, it would have to be before then, so that he could get the four game credit for that.
Maybe they do elevate that practice.
It says, and this is from Adam Schefter. If the Bengals place Jamar on injured reserve, he would have to miss at least the next 4 games.
A lot of people are saying AJ Green, so I would assume that would have to be a trade if they were to pursue AJ because he's still a Cardinal, right?
That would look crazy. That would be so fun, bro. That would be so fun. Like, and we all could just rock our AJ Green jersey. I would put my AJ Green chain on and stuff like that. Like, that would be fun. AJ Green doesn't solve what the team needs. I think as a red zone threat, I think he would do some things. Right. There's some things that it's crazy though. I don't know if that speaks to what how good the Bengals organization has been as of late, but I don't think that Auden Tate hates the Bengals. I don't think that John Ross hates the Bengals. I don't think that I know AJ Green doesn't hate the Bengals. So You know, like to have those guys be in these conversations to say, hey, look, wouldn't you want to at least take a look at them? I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't know if they make you that much better than Trent Taylor or Mike Thomas, a guy that's every day in your system and knows this is what we're doing. You know, like I believe in the talent.
I would want a Terrace Marshall, but I'm gonna be real at this point.
Terrace Marshall
having to learn the offense, him having.
I think you could get him. I think you could get him ready for like the following week. You know, like I think you could get him ready for the following week. Even if you had to run him out there and he got 2 or 3 targets on Monday night, I think you could make it work. I think Terrace Marshall is probably one of the better options out of a trade because it's not. You're giving up trade capital that doesn't really mean as much because the foundation of your team, you're about to pay the full foundation this offseason. That's a guy that I like, and he could be the successor to Tyler Boyd, and it doesn't put all the pressure on, you know, the situation as well, too. Terrace Marshall just probably wants a good situation, and a lot of these young dudes want to be around some dudes that are balling at this level, you know, so – that the Chase one is so tricky though because Thom Brennaman does bring up a really good point. You know, it's not about, to me, it's not about how bad is the injury. It's really about like how do you manage the injury and how you manage Jamar Chase versus how you would manage a guy further down your depth chart. I was telling you this before. Say it's a guy like I'm going to just use a guy like Gunther or something like that. You might shelve him for the rest of the season and say, hey, you know, we got enough guys there. You just come back next season, get yourself straight, whatever. You might say the same thing for Jamar Chase on the strength of you don't want to mismanage an injury and then he do something really bad to it. And then you're looked at as this franchise or Jamar Chase is looking at you like, why did y'all make me play earlier than what I should have?
Right.
You know, regardless, because players are going to say in the moment, players are going to say, it's sore. I feel like, you know, I could do it. You know, like that's the one thing that I think people got to really pay attention is to. It's like, how bad do you want to win right now versus how much do you care about this player in the future of your organization?
So speaking of some spooky things, Jamar Chase obviously potentially being on IR is spooky. Let's talk about some spooky situations for Halloween night. Who plays the role of Michael Myers on Monday? Cold-blooded killer with no remorse. I mean, that sounds like Joe Shiesty, bro. I'm pretty sure we did a interview with, I believe, Brett earlier, and he was like, he's pretty sure that Joe Burrow has a couple bodies in his basement because of how he is. I think it has to be, it's got to be Joey B here, right? Is there anybody else? Who, if it's not Joey B, who else is it, bro?
Shiesty, baby. I mean, the other person, I think T. Higgins could come out there. It was a guy, it was a Browns fan I was talking to just now. He was like, yeah, you know, T. Higgins, he good, but I mean, he don't scare me.
Okay.
And in my mind, I'm like, God, I want this.
Hey, they talk a lot about Denzel and Chase, right? But you don't hear them talk about Denzel and T because T done got the best of Denzel whenever they've been lined up against each other. Freddy Kreuger, though.
Denzel Ward might not even play, though. He's still in concussion protocol.
Yeah, he's probably not going to play in this game. But
man,
Freddy
this is
Kreuger,
a crazy
bro.
game. Freddy Kreuger.
Who's the one keeping the coaches up at night for this game?
Trey Hendrickson. I think he can wreck this thing to if the Bengals get a lead, any type of lead. I think Trey Hendrickson can make it one of the worst days that, you know, I watched the Patriots game and I saw Brisket in that game throw those picks and stuff. And I like the Patriots, you know, defense, but I think that Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard and Osai bring a real pass rush that nobody's talking about. Like nobody's talking about the Bengals defense.
The guy I think that's keeping Joe Woods waking up out of his sleep at like 3 a.m. in cold sweats, Joe Mixon. This is a defense. I keep telling you, this Browns run defense is the worst run defense in the NFL. They have been run through like a relay this entire season. Joe Mixon is a guy that can really end up taking over this game. And so I think for them on their sides, for Joe Woods in particular, I think it's Jodine that's actually going to be Freddy Kreuger. The Wolfman, who is the person that's most terrorizing at night under the moonlight in this game? Who is that person for you? Who's your werewolf?
Lou Anarumu, up late at night cooking up all types of stuff to just throw at brisket. Nick Chubb, there's but so much you can really do. You got to line them boys up and you got to hit and you got to bring them down. And just know that he's going to break a tackle or two and he's going to get off a couple. Like, it is what it is. But Lou got to make Brisket's life hell. And I'm counting on Lou to go into the moonlight tonight and draw up some heat.
I'm going to go with my man Von Bell. And you want to know why? I think he's going to terrorize Jacoby Brissett with a possible interception in this game. I think he's going to come up in the run game, deliver some of those big shots like we've seen him take against Juju and guys like that. So I'm going to go with him. But other than that, let's get into a place that's got some very spicy wings, Uno Wings. You know about them, Midwest Best Barbecue.
Wings, and we stock you with them Uno Wings. Uno Wings, they tell me that the Uno Wings will make you do the gritty. The Uno Wings will make you do the gritty. Uno Wings, come and get them Uno Wings. Uno Wings, who they gonna beat them Uno Wings, and we stock you with them Uno Wings. Uno Wings, they tell me that the Uno Wings will make you do the gritty. The Uno Wings will make you do the gritty.
So next Monday is Halloween. We both are probably going to be trick-or-treating with our sons, right? One thing that kind of reached me and touched me, and I'm sure it probably touched you as well, is we're probably talking to our kids and they're like, I want to be Spider-Man for Halloween, or I want to be this and that. This kid, man, this dude chose to be Joey B, rocking the Uno shirt for Halloween. This was dope, bro. I love the attention to details. I really want to know the backstory on this. Like, is his dad, an LSU fan, Bengals fan? This was dope, bro. He even look at the details, bro. Look at the detail. Dude even got the AirPods in. He's got the AirPods in, bro. He went all the way down to the detail level. Big drip.
Yeah,
that's the hair on
swagged
point.
out.
Look,
that's a Burrow baby right there. That's what it's all about.
That's the definition of a Burrow baby. And if you're a Burrow baby yourself, definitely go to zimhude.com. Get you some drip. Zim's actually got a competition going on where you can get his hoodie, the Savage Mode hoodie, which is fire because I know it's getting cold up there. The black joint, as you see him wearing right now, he's got the hoodie going crazy right now. But yeah, that's definitely a Burrow baby for sure. Zim, was there anything that you wanted to talk about in regards to the upcoming game or anything you wanted to give any thoughts on before we get out of here?
This is what I love about football sometimes, like I don't love, the best player, or one of the best players.
Hold on. It's Thursday night football. Our ops are playing.
Yeah.
You got any thoughts on Thursday night football? The Ravens.
I think Tommy brings it home. I was reading in the comments that Buccaneers had a muff punt or something already, so the Ravens already getting lucky. But I think Tom Brady goes in and cooks up something special, so we're gonna see how that goes. As far as like what we got going on for the Bengals or whatever, like this is what it, everything can't be simple, and that's the beauty of sports. And I understand, like, some people say next man up. I'm not really a next man up. It's like find another way type guy or figure it out because the next man up isn't Jamar Chase. You know what I mean? So let's just be real about that. But there's only one Uno. One of one. He's gonna retire with a Bengals jersey on. It's gonna be number one. It's gonna be in the rafters, and the world is gonna be screaming his name. But I will say this: do not don't ever count out a Bengal. Don't ever in your life think that the Bengals will be done or if you're up in here, you're feeling like, oh man, this is my chance. Like, it ain't that simple. As long as number 9 is back there, doing this thing, I always like my chances. At some point you got to say, this is what happens, and this is what people prayed on all this time. Is like, man, Joe Burrow haven't, got all these weapons. I could show you right now on Monday night what Joe Burrow looks like, even without his number 1 weapon. I can give you my other number 1 weapon and my other number 1 weapon. Like, they're all weapons
we told them that T. Higgins was a number 1, right? Oh, They about to see it now. They about to see that, and they about to see it from Joey B. Speaking of, if you are traveling for any of the upcoming games, definitely be sure to tap in with Fans of Cincy. They're going to make sure that they give all of your Bengals game trip needs covered. They're going to get you to the game. They're going to get you from the game. They're going to feed you before you get into the game. They'll make sure that you're in prime location for that. They got one coming up in Nashville in Tennessee. So I'm sure they're going to have a dope tailgate plan. Definitely be sure to check them out. Make sure that you book with them at fansofcincy.com. Let them know that Ace and Zim sent you. And even if you don't book with them, but you're going to be in Nashville or in Florida, and you still want to pop up at the tailgate, you can do that. Check them out, fansofcincy.com. Thank you guys for listening to the Wincinnati podcast. You can catch us every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Had over 160 people rocking with us. We appreciate that. Continue to hit that subscribe button, that like button, that share button. Leave us some reviews. It's been a while since I've seen some reviews come in. We truly appreciate that. That helps people find the podcast. So if you can do that and share it with whoever you can, we appreciate that. We will see you guys next week on the Wincinnati podcast.
Yes, sir. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow. Time to be a Bengals
How do you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time? Yeah. Shock the world.